Hello there, Larkonites! Largo Drago here, and I took a look at the votes on the voting poll, and as requested, I am doing a My Top 10 Games. So, without further ado, I want to show you my top 10 games that are my favorite. And if you want to know what your favorite games are, let me know down in the comments below. So, without further ado, allow me to show you my top 10 games, starting with number 10. Star Wars The Force Unleashed, PS3 edition. Okay, I gotta admit, there are some things I didn't like about the PS3 version, like, how there was less bosses unlike the PS2 and Wii version. Because there's a few details that they left out from the PS2 and Wii version that it should have been added to the PS3, such as Palpatine having a lightsaber to fight Starkiller, and not to mention the fact that Starkiller fought different Darths from different eras. And he had a boss fight with his own father. Where were those details? Where were those details, huh? Where were those? I just don't know why they were not included in the PS3 version. I mean, they were essential. Also, I do like the improved graphics, and not to mention the DLC of when Starkiller is fallen into the dark side and becomes Palpatine's next apprentice. I like that DLC. But still, I really wish they should have added more features into the PS3 version. I really wish there was. Still a good game, but I wish there was more features added into it. You get what I mean? Okay, so with that out of the way, I'm going to go on to number 9. Generator X, Agent of Providence. One of my other favorite games to play on the PS3. It's one of my favorite childhood games when I was younger. Still is. Seriously, I like how you use Rex's builds in order to fight enemies, including many different types of Evos and other types of bosses. But I gotta admit, it's funny that the Death Bunny is one of the bosses. I mean, God Almighty, that bunny must really hate Rex. I mean, what has he ever done to him? What has Rex ever done to that bunny to make him kick his ass so much? It was a bit of a running gag back then. I gotta admit, it was pretty funny seeing Rex get beaten by an Evo bunny. So, other than that, I like any of the characters, especially kicking some of the Evo's asses. And also like the builds, and not to mention the cinematics and QTE events. No, the cinematics animation was quite different from the game. I mean, it's normal because back then cinematic graphics aren't as good as the actually, the game graphics aren't as good as the cinematics because most of the budget went into the cinematics. In some cases, most of the budget went to the trailers. I wonder why some games don't turn out well. But except for Generator X, I mean, that turned out fine. But still, it was one of my favorite childhood games, and it's nostalgic for me, so... If you all played Generator X before, let me know in the comments below. So, with that out of the way, time for number 8. Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2. Okay, I gotta say, it was one of my favorite games to play when I was younger, and it still is. I still play it to this day. Because it's keep on getting the DLC for quite some time. And it's almost 10 years old, by the way. It came out in 2016. Is it 2015? No, it was 2016. But still, it was one of the best games I've ever played. Well, for me. And I know the stories can be repetitive, and yes, it's understandable. Sometimes it can be annoying, although it's not. Also, for some fans, it's nice to get a reminder of history because it does tend to backtrack a little. So, with that in mind, it was one of the best games to play with because you get to make your own character, customize them in any nice him or her in any way, and not to mention, you can use many different attacks, like any other character, like all the characters' attacks. that you earn by training with your mentors, or simply just going on the parallel quests and just earning them. And it's a bit of a pain in the ass, trust me, I know. It's a pain in the ass to get them on parallel quests because seriously, once you complete one, you just thought you'd get the ability, but no! All of a sudden, you just gotta have to do it over and over again until you do, because of higher rankings. I mean, seriously, it's nuts. It's beyond nuts. I'm still looking forward to the last DLC that Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 is getting sometime. And hopefully there's going to be a 3. And there's no news on that yet, but hopefully someday there is. And on to number 7, which is Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. Okay, I admit it's repetitive as well, same as Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 because of the stories, but still, I like the RPG style of Dragon Ball. I mean, it's a different spin on the gameplay, but I like it. Not to mention, it's a lot harder to fight the bosses in this, well, depending on what level you're on. I mean, it's important that you grind your characters as much as possible before the next boss fight, because seriously, that boss would demolish you in about a minute or so. And one of my favorite bosses is, well, Lord Beerus in DLC. Because seriously, when you make your character reach to their highest level, such as Goku and Vegeta, to their maximum level, you get to fight Beerus at his best. Well, as best as it can be, because you never know what Beerus in full power looks like. And hopefully we do get to see that someday. But other than that, there are some differences to the Dragon Ball Z Kakarot story than it is to the original anime. I mean, there are some few differences. There's like some of the dialogue at times, and not to mention some parts of the cinematics which are different. I mean, some of them are, but most of it really is the same, although with some minor differences. I like that. I like there are some few changes to it, but still, one of my favorite games. Bit repetitive, but still fun. On to number 6. Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. It was one of my favorite games I played on the PS2, and it was fun. It still is. Although it makes me miss the dismemberment on Star Wars games. I mean, sure, Disney dialed that down when they owned Star Wars. I mean, seriously, the dismemberment was part of Star Wars. They should have kept it. But still, other than that, in that game, we get to see uh, more of what happened in the movie than we did in the actual movie itself. Like Anakin just killing most of the Jedi in the Jedi Temple, and not to mention Order 66 happening. Basically all that. But still, what I like about it is the what if ending. What if Anakin defeated Obi-Wan on Mustafar, even though he had the high ground advantage? Which I like. And a different twist to it. And that Anakin kills Palpatine. And that he rules the galaxy instead. Gotta say, Galaxy ruled by Anakin. I would say, I don't know how I feel about that, honestly. But still, I like the different what-if ending. Now, on to number 5. Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. Okay, I gotta say, it was one of the scariest games I've ever played in, well, almost my entire life. Because there are enemies that could pop out of nowhere and just jump at ya. Seriously, whenever you go to the next room, there's a mole that on the other side. And seriously, the only way to take them down completely is that you shoot them in the head or just shoot off their limbs. But I prefer the head though. Ugh, God. But what's scary is that one of the bakers chase after you. Like Jack, for instance, whenever you go up on on the hallway and then turn in a corner, and then all of a sudden he just bursts out of the wall. Seriously, that's some scary shit. And Jack has different weapons. I mean, God Almighty, I would not mess with that guy. I rather keep my head and limbs intact, thank you. And then I played the PSVR version of Resident Evil a bit. I mean, I played it with the headset on, but I gotta say it was pretty terrifying, and I really don't want to do that again. Okay, I never hate the game in full in VR because it was terrifying for me. Really, it was like for me, I was like, oh God, okay, he better not be there. He better not be there. And then when I turn around, I see Jack. I was like, oh God, he's there. I hate that. I hate that. So I just paused it. I took off my headset, and that was it. I was done. I was completely done because I was terrified. Terrified. I mean, can you blame me? All right. Other than that, I do like the different mechanics and the first-person thing. I mean, we don't get to see Ethan's face, although we're really curious. Other than that, I do like Ethan and many other characters. Although personally, what surprised me the most was Mia. I did not know if she was infected and first encountering her. And the scariest thing for me at first was going down to the basement where Mia is, and gotta say it was very disturbing because no one likes to go down to the basement when it's dark. It's scary. Still is. I don't like the bosses in the game as well as the enemies. Gotta say, it was fun, scary, one scariest ever. And I'm looking forward to the next Resident Evil game, such as Resident Evil 9 coming out. Looking forward to that. Alright, on to number 4. Walking Dead Telltale. Okay. One of my personal favorite games, Walking Dead Telltale, the definitive series. I gotta say, I played season 1 years back. Still one of my favorite games. That's which one of the best written ones as well. I gotta say, it doesn't feel like a game personally. It just feels like a comic. You know, like playing through an actual comic. And it's like you're seeing it in a movie kind of way, but only that you control out those characters and their fates and how it's gonna affect how your decision is gonna affect the group. It it does show different scenes and takes of how the group react to your decisions and how impactful they can be, such as when making a decision in a meat locker with Larry about to turn, and then you had to make a choice to kill Larry or save him. I gotta say, honestly, I chose Kenny's side with stopping Larry from turning because, well, for one, he's a prick. 2, it's for the safety of the group. And 3, couldn't chance it. But mostly because Larry's a dick. But still, the game was fun, emotional. I mean, an emotional roller coaster on episode 5, but I won't spoil that. Just in case some of you all haven't played it yet. Still, one of the best games I've ever had to play. And then the rest of the seasons, they're good, but still, season 1 is always the best one for me, really. Alright, on to number 3. The Batman Arkham series. Well, Batman Arkham Collection, sorry. Okay, years ago I played Batman Arkham Arkham Asylum, and Arkham City. I gotta say, they were the best Batman games I've ever played. Arkham City was the first of the Arkham series. I mean, Arkham Asylum, sorry. But still, it was one of the best games I've ever had to play when I was younger. Still is. And the combat mechanics were good. They were awesome. But what terrified me the most in Arkham Asylum was Killer Croc, especially when you had to wander around the sewers to get the venom spores. But still, it terrified me because you had to go looking around at every corner just to see where he's going to pop up, where he's going to attack, and and hopefully avoid getting my head bitten off in the game. Now, seriously, once Croc gets you, it's over. You're done. He feeds on your carcass. And though I had that to mention the fact that I had to deal with Titan Joker, which was a fun boss to handle, although still, one of my other favorites is dealing with Scarecrow. I mean, seriously, whenever Batman gets hit by the fear gas, you get to enter the Scarecrow's world of fear. Well, in Batman's mindscape in his perspective. Seriously, fear tox is no joke. It really isn't. And I'm glad it's not real. I'm hoping. And then there's Batman Arkham City. One of the best other Batman games I've ever played, and it's a sequel to Arkham Asylum. One of my favorite bosses to fight was Clayface. I mean, he was a bit difficult at first when I handled him. And my other favorite, Solomon Grundy. Huh? Never mind, it was fun. It was a blast, last boss fighting Grundy. My personal favorite is Mr. Freeze. I gotta say, he's one of my favorite villains, and not to mention one of the most tragic. I mean, all he wants was to save his wife. That's all he ever wanted. And then he has to do crime in order to get research on how to save her. I mean, seriously, I feel bad for the guy. He just wants to save his own wife. I mean, regardless of the consequences. I do not condone crime, but I can sure as hell understand why Mr. Freeze would do all these things. I mean, at first I didn't know about it when I was younger, but when I got older, I see that. Because honestly, when I was a kid, I didn't think the villains were nothing but, evil. But now, until when I'm older, I began to understand them a lot more. Sometimes society is what made them like that. Sometimes it's bad people. And honestly, I feel bad. Honestly, at the end of Arkham City was an emotional roller coaster where Joker dies. Batman's baddest villain gone forever, and everyone, even myself, was silent. I mean, Batman and Joker were equals in intelligence. And although apart from Joker's insanity, still it was a bit of a shock to everyone in Arkham that Joker was gone. And then after that, so in Arkham Knight, there was no crime for months ever since that happened. That's how bad that's how much it affected Gotham's criminals. I mean, God Almighty, I didn't think it would affect them that much. Although Joker was one of the big bads. I mean, if not the baddest. I guess it's reasonable why they didn't commit crime for a few months in Arkham Knight. Because they were afraid of suffering the same fate Joker did. They assumed that Batman killed him, but he didn't. But although from their side of view, it seemed like it, even though he was carrying about the Monarch Theater. Gotta say, that, that was one of the most emotional and not to mention best moments in the game in history. Alright, now on to number 2. Hence, Devil May Cry 5. Okay, I had a huge blast playing Devil May Cry 5. One of the best games I've ever played, and not to mention, fun fact, that was the first Devil May Cry game I've ever played. Ever. I've never played the games in order, really, because I didn't know much about Devil May Cry back then, but when I did, I was like, wow. Now I'm into that. I really like the different styles that the characters have, such as Nero, Dante, and V. I like the different styles that they have in combat, like Dante with his devil arms, Nero with his metal arm, and not to mention his devil bringer. Well, actually, his devil power. Sorry, is it devil bringer? Yeah, it was. And not to mention there's V with his minions. I gotta say, that was a different combat style for V, although still pretty fun play the character. And what I didn't know is that he's actually the human side of Virgil. I mean, that threw me off the loop. And plus, I didn't know Yamano could do that, like split someone in two. Well, split someone's halves in two. Did not know that it could do that. But then again, it's a demonic weapon. It has its own mysteries. And I like in the ending on how Virgil and Dante head to the underworld in order to sever the tree. Honestly, to me, it felt like passing a torch to Nero. I mean, Nero in a way. Because those two would be trapped in the underworld for God knows how long, and hopefully they do come out. But also to me, in that perspective, it felt like passing the torch to Nero in a way. What do you all think of that? But first, let's talk about the combat styles of Dante, like using his guns, his devil arms. Did I say that? But I also like how they use his devil trigger. Okay, using his devil trigger is one of my favorites, including his Sin one. I mean, I did not know he could go a level beyond devil trigger, but then again, Spartans have no limits. Let's just say it, ironically. And I like Dante, I mean, he's pretty fun. And I can see why he's called the legendary demon hunter. Was it devil hunter? Eh. Still, he's pretty badass and awesome. So, and now for number 1 is The Last of Us. Part 1. Well, Last of Us, anyway. One of the best games I ever played when I was younger on the PS3. I got it on the PS4 because, why not? Still, I like playing in The Last of Us, and I like how they're dealing with different types of infected, such as the runners, clickers, stalkers, and not to mention bloaters. I gotta say, the bloaters were a bit tough because of their armor. Still, I like the story of the game, and what I didn't know is that Ellie is immune. I mean, honestly, there are some stories that involve someone being immune, or some movies that involve someone being immune anyway, and I don't know much about those, except for The Last of Us, really. But still, it was a pretty fun game. Not to mention another emotional roller coaster of things. And I like playing as Joel. I mean, seriously, the guy's a badass. I can see why most people are afraid of him. Because he's brutal. But also, I had a fun using guns. I had a fun using the guns in the game. Yeah, my personal favorite would be a shotgun. I mean, even though it's not good on long range, but still, at short range, it's pretty good. And so that ends my top 10 games. And if you all have favorite games, let me know in the comments below. If you want to see different other types of different videos, like try not to laugh or something, just let me know down in the comments below. So, Without further ado, Larkonites, this is Dark Drago saying adios, and I hope you all have a good day. So, see you all later!